Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Globe Investor Roundtable. This week, taking a look at Mark Carney, the Bank of Canada governor, moving on to maybe not greener pastures, although with the rain. Bank of England taking over the head of that in 6 months' time. And Boyd Ehrman, what is Mark Carney's record here in Canada now that he's obviously moving on?
I think there's a few things that appeal to the Bank of England. One, he worked in a stable regulatory system. People will argue that he had it easy, but at the same time he had first-hand exposure to some things that worked, whether or not he was responsible for them. Two, it's not often you can hire a central banker to be the head of your central bank. I mean, there is a skill set there that monetary policy, macroprudential regulation, and frankly just running a central bank, which is a big organization with a research department and all that sort of stuff. So you take someone who is an economist and make them a central banker. In this case, you get a central banker. That's kind of appealing for the British.
Well, I guess one of the things that people have said about not taking an economist but taking a central banker, he's coming from the street. He's coming from Goldman Sachs. Is that a good thing? I mean, Tim, do you think that better qualifies him to deal with some of these issues?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a lot of respect when you walk into a room full of bankers, having been on their side of the table. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't appreciate, or it's hard to grasp because they're not in the room with these bankers and understand how conversations go. To add to Boyd's point, one of the things that he brings is that he brings a clean slate. A lot of the people in England were kind of marked by the whole LIBOR scandal, et cetera. There's been some of the candidates had bad relationships with politicians. So he kind of comes in fresh and, in the world's eyes, he's this rock star Canadian central banker, which I think is a bit overblown, but he at least kind of brings some fresh blood.
He did not screw up a good thing that was given to him in Canada. Within the bounds of the game of central banking, he played it pretty well and, threw in a couple innovations here and there that made his name, whether it be, this idea of a conditional commitment, that being the first central bank in the world to really use this idea of saying, not only are we lowering rates, but we're going to keep them here for some time. It may sound kind of geeky, but it's a big deal in the world of central banking.
I guess the question is, he's going into the hornet's nest in London. In Canada, he did have, as you said, a structure that was actually there before he got there. He managed it extremely well. But is he ready to deal with not only the mess that is in place in the financial sector in London, but the personalities there who might look at him as an outsider?
Look, he's dealt with a lot of those personalities already as head of the FSB. So these are not strangers to him. He's not afraid of big personalities.
And I just think that he's as prepared as any other qualified candidate could be.
If he succeeds here, does he deserve that best central banker in the world tab that a lot of people have already put on him?
The highly coveted
award, yeah.
Maybe.
Tim?
Yeah, it's a very relative label.
Okay, with that, we'll wrap it up. We'll see you folks next week.